How's it going, sports buffs? Today's video discusses the past and recent history of cardiac arrest in athletes and the details surrounding them. We're not going to be overly technical with the medical jargon here, but looking back at these high-profile medical emergencies in the sports world will remind us to be appreciative because life could be over in a heartbeat. Some of these athletes defied the odds and made triumphant returns, but others are not so fortunate. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard about what happened to Bronny James. According to the statement of the James family spokesman, Bronny was practicing with the USC Trojans men's basketball team on July 24, 2023 at the Galen Center when he lost consciousness due to cardiac arrest. In medical terms, a cardiac arrest meant the heart stopped beating. Therefore, the patient was virtually dead at that instant unless someone resuscitated or revived him to consciousness. Luckily, the Trojans were equipped for moments like that, as a year earlier, another basketball player named Vince Iwuchukwu suffered the same fate. Like Iwuchukwu, it's believed James had been given CPR and treated with an AED immediately, saving his life. Cardiologists at Cedars-Sinai Medical Group, the hospital to which Bronny was taken, confirmed he indeed suffered from sudden cardiac arrest and was saved because of the swift response of the USC medical and training staff. The most complicated mystery for the doctors to uncover right now is the cause of the problem, a revelation that holds the key to Bronny's future in basketball. It will take a painstaking process to determine what went wrong and if Bronny could still pursue a career in basketball. He is doing relatively okay right now and fortunate to have avoided a long hospital stay, but even that is no guarantee in his hoops prospects. Now to the question on everyone's mind. Should Bronny James just forget about basketball and call it quits? That's obviously up to him and his family to deliberate. Iwuchukwu was able to return 6 months after that scary incident, but not all cardiac arrests are created equal, as the rest of this video will reveal. Demar Hamlin is a safety for the Buffalo Bills in the NFL who suffered an on-field cardiac arrest on national TV January 2, 2023. Hamlin was seemingly doing a routine tackle on Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins with 5:58 remaining in the first quarter. The 24-year-old got to his feet, took 2 steps forward, and fell backward as his body became horrifyingly limp. He was treated for 19 minutes by an army of medical staff and trainers as he was lying motionless on the field. So what caused Damar Hamlin to have a critical episode of cardiac arrest? It was later confirmed that there was nothing structurally wrong with Hamlin's heart. He suffered from commotio cordis, a rare condition that disrupts the heart's rhythm because of a hard blow directly over it during a specific 40 millisecond span in the organ's electrical cycle. It's so rare there are only an average of 30 occurrences of this every year. Hamlin's condition was 97% fatal if not treated within 3 minutes. While he made steady progress within 24 hours, he was intubated and couldn't breathe independently until 4 days later. After getting discharged 9 days after the incident, he continued to be under the watchful care of doctors in Buffalo. In April 2023, Hamlin received full medical clearance to continue playing football, and that's exactly what he did. He spent the next 2 months practicing in Buffalo's facility, and apparently the fruits of his labor were about to be harvested. Bills head coach Sean McDermott confirmed Hamlin would be a full go on the team's training camp in July 2023. He is not a lock for the 53-man roster, but the fact that he made it back to the football field after a close brush with death is nothing short of miraculous. Chuck Hughes played wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles and Detroit Lions from 1967 to 1971. He was the only NFL player to die on the field during a game, a tragic moment that happened on October 24, 1971 at the Tiger Stadium in Detroit, Michigan. Hughes, who was only 28 years old, suffered a heart attack late in the game against the Chicago Bears, causing him to collapse and lose his life. What's amazingly harrowing was that Hughes caught a 32-yard pass a few plays prior without visible signs of distress. Doctors concluded the heart attack was because of blood clots, causing a massive stoppage in his heart coronary artery. Christian Eriksen is a Danish football player who suffered a heart attack, collapsing on the pitch on June 12, 2021. It was Denmark's first match of the Euro 2020 against Finland in Copenhagen. Eriksen said he was, quote, gone for 5 minutes before getting resuscitated on the field with the help of CPR and AED. It was later revealed that Eriksson suffered from ventricular fibrillation, a condition that occurs when the electrical signals that tell your heart muscle to pump cause the ventricles to quiver instead. The quiver, or fibrillation, is a sign that the heart is not pumping blood to the rest of the body, resulting in the loss of consciousness. Exactly 259 days after his collapse, Eriksson was able to return to the pitch despite his life-threatening condition. How did he do that? The doctors placed a tiny defibrillator in his heart, or ICD, a device that could jolt his heart back in case it stops. Chris Pronger was a former hockey defenseman who suffered a heart attack in a playoff game for the St. Louis Blues on May 11, 1998. Pronger's eyes rolled back as he suffered from commotio cordis after getting hit by a hockey puck in the chest. The blow knocked him to the ground, but he was able to get up, take a couple of strides on the ice, and collapse on a heap. As bad as that sounded, the doctors cleared Pronger to return for Game 3 in the Stanley Cup playoffs on the condition that he wore a heart monitor for 24 hours. He toughed it out, played 41 minutes, and recorded an assist. But the only assist that mattered in that situation was the swift action taken by Blues medical trainer Ray Burrell and the Red Wings medical staff, saving Chris Pronger's life. Coincidentally, Jay Bouwmeester also played for the Blues when he collapsed on the bench during a TV timeout in the first quarter of a game against the Anaheim Ducks, February 11, 2020. The team called it a cardiac episode, and the quick response by the team trainers and Ducks medical staff prevented a fatal result. They provided hands-on CPR, while the standby AED brought Bouwmeester's heart back to its normal rhythm. He was conscious when he was transported to the hospital, but sadly he had to officially retire from professional hockey 11 months after the incident. To this day, Bouwmeester has to abide by certain lifestyle restrictions, but still lives a relatively normal life. He had an implantable cardioverter defibrillator procedure done, a device that detects arrhythmia and could shock the heart back to its normal rhythm. Reggie Lewis was a guard for the Boston Celtics who was on his way to superstardom. Lewis was supposed to carry the torch from the Larry Bird era, but tragically, his life was cut short by a rare heart condition that led to cardiac arrest. He died on July 27, 1993, during an off-season practice session at Brandeis University in Massachusetts. Lewis's case was particularly regrettable because he had already been diagnosed with focal cardiomyopathy, a severe heart condition deemed by doctors as a death sentence for his career. This happened after a playoff game on April 23, 1993, after Lewis collapsed on the court against the Charlotte Hornets. Reggie managed to get up, but he was visibly woozy. He attempted to get back to the game, thinking he could shake the cobwebs off, but was eventually pulled out for good after complaining of dizziness and shortness of breath. After the Celtics brought out their dream team of doctors, literally 12 of them, the writing was on the wall. His condition was life-threatening, and he had no business bouncing a basketball again for a living. Instead of taking the advice as it is, Lewis sought a second opinion from Dr. Gilbert Mudge. Dr. Mudge diagnosed Reggie with neurocardiogenic syncope, a less than serious condition that causes fainting spells. Lewis took his more favorable diagnosis at face value and began practicing for the next season, allegedly without the doctor's approval. Regrettably, that's the last thing he ever did. The autopsy found he had an abnormally scarred and enlarged heart, possibly caused by something unknown until your last breath. That's what happened to Mark Vivian Foe. Foe was a professional soccer star from Cameroon who died in a FIFA Confederations Cup semi-final game representing his country June 26, 2003. It was clearly seen on TV how Foe collapsed in the pitch's center circle with nobody near him. He was eventually carried off by a stretcher where medics attempted to revive him for 45 minutes, but to no avail. Foe died shortly after reaching the stadium's medical center. The autopsy revealed that the cardiac arrest was caused by hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a condition that hardened the walls of the ventricles and septum without apparent reason. Miklos Fira was from Hungary, and like Foe, he suffered a heart attack and died on the pitch. This happened on January 25, 2004 in Portugal. A few moments before the tragedy, Fira substituted and helped his teammate Ferdinand Aguilar off the field because of an injury. At some point, Miklos bent toward and collapsed on his back, prompting medical personnel to administer CPR on the fallen athlete. By midnight, his passing was announced as something caused by cardiac arrhythmia, a heartbeat problem that occurs when the heart's electrical signals don't work properly. There was also considerable controversy surrounding his death, as some suspected him of using drugs before the match. The autopsy, however, concluded he died of natural causes, possibly because of a congenital heart deformity that escaped the previous medicals of the clubs he had played for. Antonio Puerta was a promising Spanish footballer who was only 22 years old when he died on August 28, 2007. He had a bright future ahead of him, but his heart begged to differ. Puerta suffered from multiple organ failures and irreversible brain damage because of a series of cardiac arrests 3 days prior. On August 25, 2007, Puerta collapsed in the penalty area after only 35 minutes into the game. He was later revived and able to walk to the locker room when he suffered a second episode of cardiac arrest. He was resuscitated by the doctors again and was transferred to the intensive care unit. He died 3 days later because of arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy, a rare genetic disorder that causes the heart muscle to be replaced by fat and scar. If there was a silver lining to Antonio's death, it prompted FIFA to install resuscitation rooms in every stadium for the World Cup qualifiers. For sudden cardiac arrest, a quick response is the difference between life and death, and it's possible Antonio may have survived his ordeal if the stadium was equipped to handle those types of medical situations. Pistol Pete Maravich played an exhilarating and flashy brand of basketball, a predecessor to the Showtime exploits popularized by Magic Johnson. Maravich died 8 years after his retirement, just when he started to get his life straight from alcoholism and depression. On February 5, 1988, Maravich collapsed face first on a basketball court at the First Church of the Nazarene in Pasadena, California, playing a pickup game. His last words were said to be, "I feel great." What caused a relatively healthy 40-year-old to go down like a sack of potatoes? The doctors couldn't believe what Maravich lived with for the past 4 decades. He was born without a left coronary artery, causing his right coronary artery to be grossly enlarged because it compensated for the load all those years. The college basketball star for Loyola Marymount, Hank Gathers, died on March 4, 1990 at only 23 years old after suffering from an irregular heartbeat. Unlike the other athletes on this list, Gathers knew about his heart condition, had taken medication, and was assured by the doctor he could return to form. He was diagnosed with a heart ailment after he collapsed in a game early in his senior year, December 9, 1989, against UC Santa Barbara. Days before passing, Gathers asked the doctors to reduce the dosage of medication he was taking for his heart condition. He said it made him sluggish, pretty much the opposite of the Hank Gathers that led college basketball in points and rebounds the season before. It turns out the coroner found no trace of drugs in Gathers' system, indicating he hadn't been taking the medications during game days. With only 13 minutes remaining in the first half of the WCC tournament semifinal game against the Portland Pilots, Gathers was in the midcourt line, ready to take position for his team's full-court press. Unexpectedly, he collapsed not far away from Pilots point guard Eric Spoelstra. Yes, that Eric Spoelstra. He vehemently refused to lay down upon the urging of the athletic trainers, and shortly after that, Gathers stopped breathing and couldn't be revived. According to the coroner, the official cause of death was idiopathic cardiomyopathy, a condition that caused the heart chamber to enlarge and weaken. As you can see, situations vary from person to person as it relates to these heart issues. The James family has access to the best medical care available to men, so if Bronny's doctors get to the root of the problem and advise against a possible return, there's no incentive for him to go on against experts' recommendations. It's sad, sure, and a topic for an intriguing what-if scenario for years to come, but safety has to come first. I'm pretty sure LeBron and Savannah would agree. I know it's hard to put a smile on the face when you're talking about death, heart ailments, and shortened careers, but that's the reality that life brings and the facts of existence we must live with. Please let us know down in the comments, do you remember any of these incidents? Do you recall where you were when you first heard about them? Again, thank you for watching, and condolences for those in the video who did not make it. For more sports-related food for thought, please like and subscribe to our channel, Pre-Game Meal Athletics.